What is going on, YouTube? Zero Lead here, back again with a new video. Episode 42 of the Disco Era U.S.S. Enterprise tutorial. Just want to thank you very much for tuning into today's video. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. Today we got a couple of things to work on. We're going to be focusing on our Starship corridors, or excuse me, our Starship Turbolift, our main Turbolift, in fact. And I'm really excited to be starting this today because I believe it might be the only enterprise that actually has one that looks quite like this. So, um, as you can see, I mean, we're already at episode 42 and we're just now getting into this. The main reason why I waited so long to build out the uh, main turbo lift was because I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. I was trying to find um, the pictures, in other words, what type of reference material which way I was going to go. Long story short, I found one of the shorts from Star Trek Discovery, and pretty simple design. What we're going to end up doing here, basically, all we're going to take away from this is that the turbo lift itself is going to be white. It's going to have a black line in the middle, and then there's going to be a light strip on each side. Pretty simple to do. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. You can see previous episodes, we've already got our outline in place. But this is definitely one of the most important things on your ship, because if you wait too long to build this, you might be in a position where you may not be able to put it in the dead center of your ship. In this point, that ended up happening to me on my Enterprise A. Wasn't really much I could do about it at the time, and even now, just because of the design of the ship, the warp core, the way it's elongated, I didn't have enough room to have those two encompassing the same area. So I didn't really have that problem with this because it's a little bit different, ship. The warp core looks different on the TOS Enterprise, so our engineering is going to look a lot different. So at that point, I just made the decision that, the turbo lift is going to take precedence in this area, because we still have a decent amount of area to work with. But what we're just going to do here is our main room inside our turbo lift is literally a 3x3. So we're just going to build around that. You can see I'm going out 3 wide and all the way up. I'm only going halfway now, but as soon as I do this side on the right, I'm going to bring that all the way up. We're just using the white concrete blocks. Once we get all of our white concrete blocks done, then we're going to go back and then we're going to start doing our hull lines, or excuse me, our um, turbo lift lines, and start plotting out our decks. One of the differences between my Enterprise, I think, what other people have done, I didn't go too crazy with the turbo lift. I looked up some videos online on how to do an actual elevator, but couldn't find anything that I was basically satisfied with, and I didn't want to settle for just doing a water elevator, because I've always had problems with those. There's nothing wrong with the ladder, it works great, and what I end up with, I think you guys will be pretty satisfied with too, because some of the decks, um, I don't even have all of them flushed out, and technically some of those decks may not even be fleshed out when the ship is done, but they'll be a facade, and you'll see what I mean once we go through and we actually start adding in the levels. It's a pretty clever way to do it, where if I want to go in and actually fill those levels in, I can do that, or if I want to leave them empty, you never know the difference. It's all about what you want to show inside your ship, because at the end of the day, if you decide to cover something up, no one's going to know unless they decide to build past it. But at the same time, don't start closing it up to the point where there's no scale to your interior, So be careful with that. So now we're just doing the front, and you can see I am going to close up the front. We're going to go back, and then we're going to cut out our actual our doorways. All right, cool. So we got half of our shaft done. We're still going to bring this all the way down to the bottom because we don't want to have to rebuild this. Now I'm going to start shaving out my doorways. I'm just going 3 high, 3 wide. Eventually, I'm going to make this to where you can access it from both sides. Now you can see I'm going 1 up and I'm doing a cut all the way through. And now we're going to do our black strip, just like in the picture. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to skip 1, and now we're going to start our next level. We got to do our cutout for dark line going all the way around. All right. Let's get this floor in. Looks like that's not even. We're going to have to fix that. Because in order to sell this, it's all going to have to be even. So you can see I'm just repeating this process going all the way up. And not a super long video today. I think we were just at over 30 minutes. This was a couple of screen captures. I edited into one video for you guys. I'm definitely moving along here. Definitely have a lot more to cover. I think after this episode, we might be in a position we're going to start working on our engineering bay. We're going to start moving along pretty quickly, I think. There's still going to be some episodes where we're going to have to do prep work here and there. I know that when I got up into the saucer and I was doing the interior, I know that I had a little bit of trouble with the sick bay, but didn't take me too long to come up with a solution for it. It's not 100% accurate to the show, but it works within the space of the ship. When we get up there, I'll go over that with you guys because, you know, one of the things too, and I can talk about down here is that, you know, you want to definitely stick to the pictures as a reference, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to work with the room that you have and the shape of your ship. So that's definitely going to be something you have to take into consideration when you're building stuff, or at least your interior anyway. So we're making progress here. I'm just going to be continuing this process, going all the way up. And for whatever reason, as I'm going through this episode, if I'm not getting specific enough, or if you have a question or you get stuck, drop a comment below. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section. If I don't get to your comment, I'll usually answer your question in a video. If I haven't, I've probably already answered it in a previous video. So definitely watch out for that. And if there's any builds that you guys would like to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below. I'm definitely, we're not winding down just yet on our Disco Enterprise. We still have a lot of stuff to do, but at the point where I'm already planning out my next builds, and 100% it's going to be the Enterprise D and Voyager. I don't know what's going to be in that order just yet. It may not be. I want to jump in real quick to what I have going on here. You can see I have a gap in between here. So this is spaced out correctly with our deck leveled with our shuttle bay. But when we get up towards the top, there's going to be a gap in between here, between um, this floor line, which should be technically the next deck, and we won't be able to actually use that. So what we're going to do to fix that is I'm just going to fill that in. That's going to be the only part on the ship, or at least on the turbo lift, that's filled in like that. But there's just nothing that we can do to get around that. Okay. So far, so good. I like where we're going with this. So I'm really excited I get to show you guys this because This is something that's not even on my Enterprise A. Setup in the past, I really do think that how this Enterprise turned out, this was my best one yet. This was several years from doing all the ships that I've done, and Enterprise A was somewhat of a hodgepodge refit from the 2009 Enterprise. It looks good, but still, it was a challenge to update it, um, working within what I had originally. I probably should have just started off from scratch, and I would have had a much less of a hard time getting it done. You can see here, I'm just filling in the lower part of the turbo lift because we want this go all the way down because we're going to be adding some decks in below our main one because we're going to be having engineering decks going below here as well. In front, that's going to be reserved for deflector control, the entire front, because that's going to be massive. And um, there's not a super lot that I do to it this time around. It's definitely not as complex as the deflector dish for the Enterprise A, but I think this one comes out better. I think less is more in this case. So I'm excited for us to get in that point too. Um, Overall, I'm really proud of this build, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback so far. I've been noticing, like my videos, they've been taking a little while to get some motion, but they're starting to. Definitely the first 20 episodes are starting to pick up, and some of the later ones are slowly but surely crawling along. But I definitely just want to thank you guys very much for sticking with me through this tutorial series. I'm doing this for you guys because I was exactly in your shoes when I started this journey building my ships, and I don't understand why people don't share their knowledge with the community. There's no reason not to, you know. So if I can help somebody to get to a point that they can build this, I think that's pretty cool. Because at the end of the day, I think Star Trek was always meant to bring people together. So kind of cool. Anyway, moving along here, you can see I'm gonna continue my pattern on our turbo lift going down. Now, once we finish doing this with our pattern and then our decking, we're going to add in the lights on the side. Part of me even kind of feels I could have maybe made this Enterprise a little bit bigger, but at the same time, I was trying to scale it with my other ships that I've done on here too, to keep it within a reasonable scale where it's not going to take me 10,000 years and 200 episodes just to complete it. But I was wishing I was having a little bit more room here and there where I would have the only thing, put it this way, the only thing I couldn't do with the turbo lift that I wanted to do which was like down in the engineering bay. I wish I could have blended it in more with its surroundings on the main level, and you'll see what I mean once we start to build that out. But it doesn't come out bad. I think that's the one and only thing that I don't like about it. But no matter what, I think that's going to be true for anybody when they build something in Minecraft. No matter what, there's always going to be something that you're not completely happy with, no matter how well you do it. I think there's always going to be something that you can take away from it and learn to do better in the next time. But we're looking really good right now. We're looking really good. We're gonna bring our walkway out just a little bit, not too far, because again, that whole front area, that's deflector control. Now we're gonna do our lighting. And nothing fancy on this, we're just going straight up in the middle. Let's fix that on the sides. I'm just using the sea lantern. And that's it. As far as the basic design of it, we're gonna have to, do a little stuff here and there in the front with the red blocks to give the impression that the doors are there. But other than this, the general construction of the turbo lift at this point is done. Very simple design, easy to do, but I think it has great detail and it really helps make the ship come to life. So you can see what I meant by, hopefully at this point you can see what I mean now, where technically we're going through this turbo lift. It looks like there's several decks, but right now we really only put out two. So that's what I meant, where at this point you don't have to have a deck for every single room that we're making inside of this turbo lift if you don't want to. Is basically what I'm getting at. And no one will know the difference. We're still gonna do some stuff, and we're still gonna add some levels, but we're not gonna go super crazy with it to the point where we run out of ideas. I think we'll probably, by the time this build is done, I want to get to a point where I can have, if not all the rooms completely finished, close to it, because again, we're not going to get enough content to finish this thing. So we're going to have to use our imagination at that point as much as possible, but it's only going to get us so far. But we'll see how far we can get. And as I'm doing this, I mean, hey, if you have any suggestions, drop them down in the comments section. I definitely love to hear people's feedback on the builds. I always say it that there's 100 different ways to build these things. I'm not saying what I'm doing is the best way, just kind of, what worked out for me in the moment while I was building the ship. All right. So now let's go down. Gotta fill that in. There we go. Have to fix that. That. You can really see now that it's starting to simulate going up a turbo lift. This is about as close as we can get it. I've never seen anybody honestly get anything close to this on their builds in Minecraft. Usually they just have a single block shaft going straight up to the top. They don't do anything. I haven't seen anybody do anything this elaborate yet. And this isn't even elaborate. It's very simple. But I think that's kind of what makes it work, is that it's so simple. Nobody's really thought of it. We're definitely gonna have to add our doors in the front, but that's looking pretty good. Still have a little bit of build time left. Still got about 17 minutes. We're gonna think we're got a little bit more to do with the turbo lift, and then we're gonna finish off our shuttle bay control room here too. And you can see what I'm doing. This is technically a doorway, so I'm facing to where the doorway should be. I just did a cut on each side, and then this middle block, replace that with white concrete, and bam, now it looks like there's a swishing double door there. So even though some of these doors, well, all of these doors aren't going to be automatically open. Some of them are just going to be opened, and some of them are just going to be closed, because we just don't have the room to make the automatic doors. Not in the turbo lift. We'll be able to do it at the very top, but that's going to have to do as the facade to sell it. That these are all levels, on at least the levels that don't become full decks. I'm just going to continue this on, going all the way down. And I'm just going to really replace that middle one. No sense to keep deleting all three of them in the middle at least. And I still did it here. Whatever. Besides, yes. But I don't understand why I keep deleting the top and bottom ones in the middle. I think it was pretty late when I was working on this part of the episode. Don't judge me. You do stuff when you're tired. And you know, it's not hard to look at on the eyes, so even if there's some part of this that is exposed when we're done with the ship, this design overall, I think it really works. It has kind of like a retro look to it, you know, definitely looks like the Enterprise Turbolift to me anyway. You know, the Enterprise always had like those red doors as you're going through it, you know, with at least with the TOS Enterprise, and I think the Enterprise A had red doors, I think. Could be wrong on that, but I think it did. And you see, we have some room here in the front of the neck, and then behind it, where we'll put some levels in here, because we definitely want to give the impression of scale. And I think we're going to move in. There's 2 more edits. All right, now, because you could see in the last episode, episode 41, we deleted our old turbo lift that was going up into the shuttle bay control room, and we brought those double doors in the shuttle bay back. Now we're going to move the turbo lift for the shuttle bay control over. Well, we're not moving it, we're just rebuilding it a little bit further back. When it's done, I think it's going to look a little bit better as far as spacing out goes, and you'll see what I mean as we walk through it. At least this area into the shuttle bay, there was a nice little junction basically that you feel like you're walking into a ship basically. That's something I really wanted to convey as soon as you walk through the shuttle bay, I feel like you should be walking into a corridor, no matter how big or small it is, just to give, you know, a sense that you're inside of a ship. And we're not doing anything fancy. We're literally just um, building a 3x3. We're going to repeat the same process for our turbo lift now. And we're going to bring this all the way up, and we're going to go all the way down too. So we'll have 2 turbo lifts in the lower hull, which is kind of cool. And you can see that's just spaced out better. The way we had it all the way over against the wall before to the left, it was too compact. So that was really the main thought process behind moving it over the way that I did between the last episode and this episode. All right, we kind of built our arch. And you can see, just looking down, it's the same pattern. We're going to do the dark gray, and then red, then dark gray. We've already got that filled in. Just got to do the red. All right, now let's do our strip going along the back. I took the one out in the middle. We'll have to replace that again with white. I caught it as soon as I deleted it. All right, now we got to delete that floor there, and here we go. So we got a turbo lift back. with our new design. I think this thing looks great. I'm excited to release this video to see what everybody thinks about this. You know, like I said, it's not very complicated, but you know, really helps to sell it, I think. And I got lucky finding those pictures too, because I was sweating for a minute. I was like, man, I'm not sure how exactly I'm gonna do my turbo lift, but I just kept looking through pictures from the show, and then I started looking through the Star Trek shorts, and I just came across it, and I was like, man, I'm like, they did have that episode. I just grabbed them, and I did that search off Google, and that was just searching through. I typed in the name of the episode. I forget which episode it was, but it was from the Star Trek shorts. So if you do want to look that up yourself, you can definitely do that. And you can see I'm using the dark gray right now for the walls. Um, I was trying something different up here, but ultimately what we're going to fall on, at least this area right now that we're in, we're going to make it look more like the corridors on the deck below us. We're not bringing this out too much. You know, we do have some room to work with behind us, but we don't have a ton of room to work with. So we don't need to make the shuttle bay control room any bigger than it needs to be, basically. I I loved the first. Well, I didn't love all of the every moment of the rebooted Star Trek movies. I enjoyed them, I'll say that. But I think one of their downfalls was I feel like J.J. Abrams made the ship bigger just because he could, you know. Um, and then when they were going through it, especially in the first movie, I just saw the Budweiser canisters, um, the fermenting bins. I was like, okay, I'm like, Star Trek's a brewery now. This is how it's going to be. I mean, I'm poking fun at it, but you know, there was something about how they had the interiors before. They felt more like ships to me. Um, and you know, I've talked about this in the past, and that's because way they had the interiors of the starships designed before was based, well, at least the way it started anyway, was based off of naval submarines. So that's why you see in TOS, you know, always had a very compact feel to it. I'm gonna have to go outside to fix that. Well, let's cut out a hole here. I could always fill it in. All right. We're just going to do half slabs going across the window. We might, I don't think we spend too much time in here doing detail in the actual room. I think eventually I'm going to come back and do a little bit more detailing, maybe, but I think for right now, what I end up with, it doesn't look bad. I think if I left it as is, I think it would be enough to, well, when I'm done with it at the end of this episode, I think it'll be enough to convey, to get the point across what this room is. But it needs it's still, I think it needs like one more pass of just adding a couple, you know, last minute things to really help sell it. You can see I'm gonna hop back downstairs, look at my hallways, and then I'm gonna go back up and you can see I'm gonna change it. Well, in a minute I'm gonna go up and change it. I think I'm gonna shoot up to the top deck to see how I did them up there. Yeah, see, I made a mistake. Um, in the lower hull, I used the wrong shade for the sides, tops and bottoms. It's actually a darker gray, and I have the white. So it's just a little bit too bright, but we want to try to stay consistent as much as possible. So I'm going to go back. We're going to make that change right now. That's one of the things, attention to detail. It's going to help to sell your ship and make it come to life just a little bit more than what other people are doing. All right, we want that block there in the middle. And the reason I'm doing that is because when we have our opening doors, there's that divider in the middle and they swish open on the side. So we want to keep that design going throughout the ship. So this way, as you're going through it, you're like, okay, I'm going through another automatic door and another one. So that's kind of like the thought behind it. All right, now we're going to start to build out our actual corridors the way they're supposed to be. Gotta change that to red. We gotta change this to red also. And we have to go back one. Could have just did that from the inside, but it's no biggie. Yeah, and see, you already see, like, it was just that whole wall there. It was way too dark. It really needed that little bit of extra light, or light coloring anyway. I think that corridor wall helps to bring it to life just a little bit more. We're definitely winding down in the last 3 minutes. This episode is shooting by. Hard to believe we're already on episode 42. Um, I'm not sure how many more episodes this is going to go out. I actually have to hop on this weekend to record some new content because I've been taking a break from recording new stuff because I had like so much footage recorded of this build. I had a little bit of time where I was able to take a tiny break from building, which wasn't a bad thing because I built this ship fairly quickly. But I'm already at the point where um, we're on episode 42, but my actual captures, I'm already up to episode 66. I'm well over 100 videos of recorded footage, but you can see that my episodes are not all that long as what I was talking about earlier, so it could be 60 episodes, it could be less, it could be more, I don't know. We're just gonna have to see where we fall, but we're definitely starting to pick up steam a little bit more. There's not um, at this point we just have to really do the interior and detailing. The ship design is pretty much done at this point, the outside. Anything we do on the outside is going to be very little, subtle changes, just to pretty much splitting hairs for me anyway. We could technically leave it exactly the way it is on the outside, and I think a lot of people would be happy with it, but I want to just, keep pushing it further and showing you guys, the different levels of detail that you can add into your ships. And if you want a sense of that, if you don't want to wait, check out my other videos on what I've done with the Enterprise A, and then the U.S.S. Vengeance, and even the Kelvin. Um, there's a lot of subtle details that you can put in, to help to bring these things to life a little bit more. I have to do my hub here. I've got to fix up the flooring. All right, now we're gonna shoot over to the last edit, which is only literally a minute long. So we're going to wrap up here. You can see I did on the corners here a black strip, or excuse me, a light gray going straight across on each of the corner ways for the door. We're going to do another one here right after the red. So now it looks like there's a nice junction here. We're going to do the same thing up top. You know, again, this is these subtle details. I think it looks 50 times better now. I mean, to me, sitting right here, I feel like I'm on the Disco Enterprise. It's not exact to the picture, but that's about as close as we can really get it, you know, unless they start to add in more blocks where we can get more detailing in. But right now, that's about as good as we're gonna get. Gotta do a light gray strip going across here, right in front of the red. And I think that's going to call it a day for episode 42. But we got a lot done in this episode. We pretty much completed our turbo lifts, and now we're at the point where we're going to start filling in all this area here in the front, um, leading right up to the turbo lift. Just to give you an idea, things to come, that will all be the engineering. Well, at least this deck of engineering, and primarily the warp core, and then like some control panels on the side. And then past that, the main turbo lift, that'll be the deflector control, and then going down 2 decks, we have 2 additional engineering levels going downward. So we've got some stuff left to do on the lower hull before we move and complete the upper hull also, but we're making some steady progress, slow but steady progress. You know, I really I hope that everybody enjoys episode 42 as much as I enjoyed doing this episode, and as well as the series for you guys. You know, again, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and it's definitely given me the confidence to keep this series going, as well as to, like I said, start working on future episodes and what's going to be coming directly following the Disco Enterprise. So that's going to wrap it up for me. If there's anything else that you guys want to see me build in the future, drop a comment below. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section. Don't forget tomorrow to tune in for episode 43. And in fact, you can always check out new episodes Monday through Saturday. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. Just want to thank you again for tuning into today's video, and I will catch you on the next one.